This question is potentially the most important, piercing question that you can ask yourself. And the answers that you find will help guide your healing process. It will help you understand why you are the way that you are, why you act certain ways that maybe are seemingly illogical and more emotional, why you tend to people please, why you are maybe afraid to disappoint certain people. So let's dive in. When I talk about this topic, number one, let me just point out that I got this question, this two-part question from Tony Robbins himself. I watched it in his documentary, which I've mentioned before, I Am Not Your Guru, which you can find on Netflix. I highly recommend that you go watch this, especially if you're diving into this topic. So the two parts of this question, number one, growing up, whose love did you crave the most? So we're not talking about who did you love the most, or who did you receive love from the most, or who were you closest to? We're talking about whose love did you crave the most. So usually when there's craving, there's a deprivation of some kind. Maybe there's an absence, there's scarcity. Whose love did you crave the most? Meaning, who did you not fully receive acceptance, approval, love, affection, caregiving from that you felt you needed it from? That may have been your mom, it may have been your dad, and in some cases, it's both. And I have met women that have had both of their parents abandon them, both of their parents give them away to other family members. So I understand that if you answer this question, you might have two people as your answer. So regardless of who that person is for you, if it's your mom that you feel you're seeking her approval, you're seeking her validation, you're seeking her love, you're seeking her attention, whatever it is that you felt like you were kind of always grasping for as a child. Maybe it was from your dad. Maybe your dad left, or maybe he was there but he wasn't fully present. Or maybe he just withheld love from you or affection from you. Maybe he went as far as to tell you he wishes that he never had you, or he wishes that you were a different sex, or whatever it is. Then obviously there's going to be a wound there that you're craving love from him that you didn't fully receive. Again, this could be your mom, it could be your dad, it could be both of them, or maybe a different caregiver or caretaker that you never felt you were good enough for. So first, answer that question. Whose love did you crave the most? Part two of this question is equally as important, and it's going to reveal to you so much about yourself and why you act the way that you do as an adult. From there, it's going to help you heal. It's going to help you realize what you do want to be and what you don't want to be, instead of just acting from this place of a child, because that child is who's craving that love, and that child is going to act a certain way because of that craving. So part two of this question is, who did you have to be for that person that you craved love from most? How did you have to behave for them to love you, for them to give attention to you, or maybe for them to not punish you? I'm going to act this way so that my dad doesn't yell at me. I'm going to walk on eggshells so that my mom doesn't yell at me. Or I'm going to go above and beyond and be a good girl, which we're going to get into next week, into the next topic, being a good girl. But who did you have to be for your mother or father, whoever's love you craved most? Who did you have to be for them? How did you have to behave or not behave? Did you have to be quiet? Did you have to be obedient? Did you have to ignore their behavior? Did you have to constantly do them favors? Was the love conditional? And most likely, if you craved love from someone in your life, if you craved love from a parent, then in one way or another, whether they meant to do this or not, their love was conditional. And what I'm asking you in this second part of the question is, what were those conditions? What did you have to do or not do in order to receive love or affection or approval or acceptance from that person that you craved love from the most? The reason this is so important and like mind-blowingly powerful is that when you answer these two questions, when you figure out whose love you craved the most and then who you had to be in order to receive that love from them, it's ridiculous the way that you'll see that this is why you are the person that you are. You will see why you act a certain way when you're around your parents, or why you're working so hard to prove yourself. You'll see why you are so afraid to disappoint people. You'll be shown the root of all of your problems. You'll be shown the root of all of the striving that you're doing. I mean, you could say that all of the addictions that we create, all of the attachments we create, all of the striving that we do, all the scarcity we feel comes from this wound of craving love from someone that we didn't receive it from fully. This is not meant to blame anybody, and we get into that later on in the book when we talk about blaming effectively. But I'm not asking you to go and find a villain here. This is not about victimhood. You're finding empowerment and you're finding awareness. We're just getting curious and finding information that's incredibly valuable for your healing process and for your emotional freedom. And when I say emotional freedom, I mean your ability to make choices and decisions from inside instead of being pulled and pushed from outside. Because if you have this wound that you were never good enough, then that's going to show up in your marriage. It's going to show up in your relationship with your children if you have children. It's going to not only affect, but literally lay the foundation for and develop and create and restrict your ability to love yourself. Your relationship to yourself is based in and on and around this relationship with this person that you craved love from the most. And this is potentially the scariest place for you to go. It's the place that hurts the most. It's the place that is most uncomfortable and you just don't want to go there. But if you are able to go here, if you're able to muster the courage to take a look at this and go, wow, I didn't realize I craved love from that person, and therefore that's why I went and got this house and got this job so that I could finally be approved of or accepted by this person. That's why I work so hard, because I want them to finally tell me that I'm good enough. Or that's why I am addicted to this thing, because I'm avoiding the addiction that they had and I'm accidentally falling into the same patterns. Or that's why I put up with an unhealthy relationship, because that's what I had to do for my parent. Your blueprint around love, around parenthood, around self-respect, around your worth, your self-worth is based in and around your relationship to the person you craved love from the most. A lot of times, the person you crave love from most loved you deeply, but they weren't able to give love to you because maybe they didn't fully love themselves. Maybe they just weren't fully happy, so they couldn't overflow happiness and love to you, right? It doesn't have to be negative about this person. This person you crave love from maybe did the absolute best that they could and loved you dearly and deeply and maybe still do to this day, but maybe they weren't fully loved. Maybe they didn't feel like they could safely give love, because that's where this all comes from. And that's the cycle that you're going to end if you do this work. I promise you, if you answer these questions, you're going to realize so much about yourself, so much about your relationships, so much about what is actually holding you back. Because regardless of what area it is, parenthood, your intimate relationship, your friendships, your business life, your finances, your self-esteem, your self-worth, all of it is tied back to these questions. So figure it out, dive in, and share with us if you want to. The more conversation we have around it, the more freedom we'll have around it, the more healing you'll have around it, I promise.